Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Racers News Network Live. We are very proud. In just a moment, we are going to be talking to the 2022 Super Gas Champ and NHRA. Of course, I'm talking about Bob Locke. But again, I want to just remind everybody that obviously this is not live on Facebook like I normally do. I can't do anything till the 19th of December. It's going to be on a YouTube link shortly after we finish up with our interview tonight. But let's dive right into it. I want to introduce again your 2022 NHRA Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series Super Gas National Champion, Bob Locke. Good evening, Bob. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me. How are you?
Very good, very good. And
good.
And thank you for your time.
Yes.
Hell of a way to finish up the season.
That's for sure.
Absolutely. So let's kind of start from the beginning of your year and just kind of let's walk through the 2022 season.
All right. Well, our plans were to run divisionals like we normally do. We'll usually hit U.S. Nationals and maybe the St. Louis National event, but we didn't have really plans to run a lot of nationals this year. Although we did add Norwalk to our schedule early in the year, we thought we would add one more and just give it a shot, just another weekend to go racing, basically. But we started off on the divisional trail, and we had a couple of good outings early on. I believe they were both final round appearances. Just couldn't seem to close the deal early on in the season.
Excellent. So now, to begin your year, do you usually make the trek to Florida?
No, we don't. My work kind of almost makes it impossible for me to get away before April 15th because I do a lot of tax work.
Okay.
I just can't get out of Indiana any distance before then.
Cool. So you kind of progressed through the year a little bit, basically wanting to run divisional stuff. Now you're out of Division 3, am I correct?
Yes, that's right.
So home track is IRP.
It is. Yep.
Yep. Or Lucas Oil Drag Race.
Right. I still call it IRP.
Yep.
And I guess it is again now. So
cool. So you got about halfway through the season and just did you kind of look at the points and go, we got something good going on here?
But the only thing I was really watching, honestly, were divisional points until we left the St. Louis weekends. We ended up running the St. Louis national event, and then we had a double divisional the following weekend. I'd been watching divisional points all year, and because of our good start, we were up there in divisional points. And that's kind of all we really had our eye on until we went to St. Louis. And I probably wouldn't have looked at it at all if it weren't for my son. He's a super street racer, and he's with us all the time. And he kind of headed up the conversation, said, Dad, if these 3 races in St. Louis, these next 2 weekends, if you could turn on 10 win lights in all 3 races, he said, you might be national top 10. So I didn't even realize I hadn't paid a lot of attention. Our Norwalk national event wasn't a great outing at all. And we hadn't made much noise nationally, but we'd had good luck in the divisional schedule.
Cool. So progressing forward from that point, you got to let's say Indy, and did you kind of revisit it all again?
When we got to the U.S. Nationals?
Yes.
No, I really didn't. I felt actually really good about going into Indy, just about racing in general. But then in one of the early rounds, I got handed an 8-pack and got sent to the trailer pretty early on. So that was a bummer. I was hoping we might, because we were having a decent year, I was hoping we might make a little noise in that race.
Right.
But we did not.
All right. How did your mindset change throughout the year after you really got going with your racing schedule? Did you just kind of go into it going, all right, well, whatever happens, and then again, you kind of revisited stuff throughout the year? Did your mind just kind of go,
To a great degree, it was whatever happens. But again, we felt like all we were doing really was chasing divisional points. So we were working pretty hard at that, doing what we could until the St. Louis weekends were over. And at that point, we found ourselves right in the thick of things. And that's when our mindset started changing a little bit, thinking maybe we need to go chase this. We've never been in this position before. Now what?
Right. How long have you been racing?
I've been drag racing for 25 years, but super gas racing only probably only for about 14 years. And we never ran a full schedule, even a divisional schedule, because when we first started super gas racing, our kids were still running juniors. So we would hit races that didn't conflict with regular junior points races at home or other special events that we always went to. And so our super gas racing was pretty hit and miss for several years.
All right. So what was the first car that you went down the track in?
1969 Camaro.
Oh,
It was the very first car that I ever bought. We still have it, and that was the first thing I ever took down the drag strip.
very cool.
Yeah.
Now, how many kids do you have that race juniors?
We have a son and a daughter, and both raced juniors. Son didn't start till he was between 9 and 10, if I remember right. Daughter started right away when she was 8, when she was the younger one. They both raced until they aged out.
Oh, all right. Now, obviously, you already mentioned that your son races Super Street. Does your daughter still compete?
She does not currently, but her and her boyfriend just recently purchased a Super Street car that someone sold here in D3. So they're working on tearing it apart, and hopefully in the next, probably not next year, but the year after, hopefully they'll get it out and start running.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So post Indy, post St. Louis, you're looking at the points. And again, we've already talked about this a few times, but kind of looking at it a little bit more in depth now with you and your son and going, I think this is something we need to really dive into hard.
Well, yes. We made a Facebook post after the St. Louis weekends that, we had a great weekend, and we found ourselves in a spot we've never been in national points. And honestly, at that point, by the end of that weekend, even a day or so after, we probably really hadn't planned on going because we had 3 more claims. We had a divisional and 2 nationals that we could still claim. And the only thing that made sense if we did that was to do the Vegas Pomona trip. Now we're in central Indiana, and that's a long way away. So honestly, we were probably thinking that it wasn't going to happen just because of time restraints. And it's a long time to be away from work. And it is a lot of money to go out, and for entry fees for all 3 and fuel and everything else that you encounter along the way. It was going to be a big commitment.
Cool. So you get out to Vegas and you do well, and you're looking at excuse me, looking at the points again. And did you already go out there with the intention to go to both events in Vegas and Pomona, or were you going out to race in Vegas and just kind of see what happened and go from there?
No, we went ahead and entered in the Pomona National because we figured if we're going to go out west and race, regardless of how Vegas turned out, we were going to go on to Pomona because we were out there. We may never have a chance to race out there again. So we thought, let's go race out there, regardless of Vegas. And Vegas actually turned out to be a couple of pretty bad weekends for us. We didn't gain anything in points, and we were out first round in one event, second round in the other. So we had some car issues, and it really was not something that we would ever want to repeat. It was a bad weekend, 2 bad weekends actually.
Now, when you went out there, what was the difference in points between first and second?
First and second, and I won't get this exactly right, I believe was 3 to 4 rounds.
Okay.
And we were in third at the time, and we were still a couple of rounds out of second. I believe it was a little over 20 points, so it was 3 rounds for that.
Okay. Now, your races in Vegas, even though they didn't quite go the way you wanted to, how did it go for the other two people that were ahead of you?
Well, in second place was Luke Wagacki. He was claimed out. He wasn't racing anymore. He'd filled his quota,
Okay.
and he was pretty much sitting there waiting on things to play out. Phil Unruh was in first place, and he was struggling like I was for some reason. He did not have a good Vegas either weekend, and he didn't improve on his score. Again, he was in first, Luke was in second, and I was in third. Going into those weekends and leaving those weekends, nothing had changed.
All right, let's fast forward to Pomona.
All right, that's the good part.
Let's get into the juicy part of this whole story.
Absolutely.
So you leave Vegas, go to California, essentially where you came out there, the position that you came out there in. Did you what was going through your head when you rolled into Pomona?
What was going through my head was, hey, we still have a shot. There's still a chance that we could pull this off. I thought all through this trip, we've been in several final rounds all year, and if there was ever a year for some reason that we had a shot to go to a final round or win a race, for some reason it just felt like this year. The car was good when it needed to be. I was racing better than I had been, and so we knew we had a shot. But again, going into a race like this, we were joking that, hey, we got a 5% chance of winning this thing, because it's just tough to win a race. Everybody's good and everything's divided, everything's decided by thousands, and but somebody's got to win. So we thought we'd throw our hat in the ring and give it a shot.
Very cool. So you start making it through the rounds. Do you take that point sheet and do you just kind of set it over there and you race your race, or do you go through the rounds and you keep looking at that thing and maybe stress yourself out a little bit?
I didn't pay any attention to points because we knew what we had to do. Phil had to go out before or by the fourth round. If he had gone past fourth round, we couldn't catch him. And after first round, he had lost and we had won. And so we knew that the goal was to win the race. If we don't win the race, we don't win the championship. So I didn't have to keep looking at points at that point.
Right.
At that stage, we just knew what we had to do, and that was on our mind.
Awesome. So obviously you get to the finals, you take it. And how long did it take you to really, obviously you knew you won
Sure.
won the championship.
Right.
When did it truly hit you that, man, I'm the 22 champion?
I had it took me a little bit. I turned off the track. If you see the video, even my son goes, "Dad, you weren't yelling or pumping your fists or anything," because honestly, it was all surreal. One light comes on, and in my head, I'm going, "Did this really happen?
Right.
Did this actually happen? We just went 6 rounds and won this thing." And so when the car turns off, it's hard to see because of the camera angle, but at one point, finally, I start yelling and pumping my fists. You get out of the car and people are coming at you with the Wally and the medallion for the race win. But then they told me, "Hey, you need to go over here to the red carpet and stand." And I look up and realize, holy cow, they're going to give me the national championship Wally right here, right now.
Right.
And so then I see my family coming on the golf cart in the distance, and that's when it really hit me, and the emotions hit me that, oh my gosh, everything we wanted to do just happened.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was just truly amazing.
So after you get the Wally, you go to the banquet, you pack up and you start driving back to Indiana. That must have been a much, much better, maybe even though almost kind of like a magic carpet floating back home, or I would imagine.
It was to a great degree. We'd been gone so long, we were really ready to get home. So it felt like it took forever, but all the way home, we were rehashing, my wife and I were rehashing everything that happened over the previous 2 weeks of racing, the 3 weekends. And we just really had a fun time reliving it all. And think I watched the video of the final round about 20 times between Pomona and home.
Very cool.
It was really neat.
Now, was your entire family able to make the trip out there with you?
Well, yes. So my wife and I drove out in the RV and trailer, and we had planned on originally. We thought, well, if this happens, we want our family there. So my son actually came out to Vegas and helped me, because all year long he and I have been, I guess, strategizing, for lack of a better word, planning each round, and I really felt like I needed him there. So he came out and then went back home. The following weekend, he and his wife Jordan and our daughter Kristen all came out to Pomona to be with us for that weekend. So having them there just about completed the storybook ending to this whole deal.
Very cool. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit. Let me move out of the way.
All right.
Again, let's talk a little bit about this hot rod right here.
Sure.
Tell us about it.
Well, we've had that car for 8 years, and it's a 20-year-old car. It was built by Advanced Chassis in Ohio, and we bought it, like I said, 8 years ago. Gave it a facelift, made it look like our own car, and as anybody does, we've been updating little things here and there. As technology had progressed beyond, what the previous owner had put in the car, so we just upgraded some things with ignition systems and race pack, and some things that gave us good data, and I think helped us race better.
Very cool. Now, interesting, you bring up data. One of the things that kind of turned a lot of people on their ears at the U.S. Nationals was the fact that some of the super gas cars actually got called into the barn. Can you touch on that a little bit from a competitor's point of view?
Yeah, I wasn't one of them because we were out early, and I think it was a couple rounds later that they called everybody in. I don't know. I think they were mostly looking at grids, honestly, if I remember the stories right.
Yeah.
They were wanting to make sure that some of the grid settings were not illegal. There's some things I know you can't do with a grid. I don't have a grid, so I don't understand them completely. But I I think they were all centered around the grid ignition.
Oh, okay. All right. So how about, obviously we kind of talked about your family a little bit, other people that help make your operation run every year?
I wish I could say we had a bunch of sponsors, but we don't. But we do have a lot of people that we work with that I feel very good about their quality products. And we have a local engine builder just north of Indianapolis that I've used for years. We've always had great luck with Woody's Automotive, Dennis Woody. In fact, before we came out to Pomona, he came down, and we lived about an hour away from him. He volunteered to come down to the house, go through the motor with me. We checked all the valve springs, and we actually changed the valve spring that looked like it was on its way out before we left. So they've been really good to us, and I really appreciate what they do for us. Other key things that we use, Cohen transmissions and converters, have always been very good to us. Started using APD carburetor this year, actually. We changed carburetor after the Indy Divisional, and had to work a few bugs out of it, but it has turned out to be a good setup for us, and they've been very helpful with tuning and helping us get that all running right. So
cool.
Those are some of our key people.
Awesome. Now, are people going to see you roll into PRI as the 2022 Super Gas Champ? Are you going to be making the rounds?
We'll be there. I live about 20 minutes from downtown Indy, so we'll be there on Friday. We usually go on Friday and walk around, and so we'll be spending the day Friday. Cohen Transmissions called me and the day after our win and said, "Hey, we always love to put any of our customers who are national champions up on our display board in PRI," and I've seen it before, so I'm anxious to go see that. Should be a big picture of the car and our name
Awesome.
in their booth. Awesome. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to being there this year.
Very cool. Now, with you being the defending champ, are you already looking ahead to 23 and kind of strategizing a little bit about maybe defending, or just kind of again play it out and see how everything falls into place?
Now we're gonna run our share of national events out here in the East. So by the time those Western races get there, we'll be all claimed out. We won't have anything else we can do. So we'll see how we do, and then we'll watch it play out. I mean, it's awfully hard to repeat. And we're just thankful to compete. Honestly, this year has been beyond anything we could comprehend. We like to compete, but we never dreamed we'd be in this position because we weren't chasing national points before. So
Right.
this next year we're gonna run the events. We're gonna have fun. If we're in a position to compete for it, awesome. If not, we will still have had a great time.
Awesome.
I know from other people saying that number one on your car is basically a big bullseye. So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. I know a lot of people have some off years after winning a championship. So hopefully we can have a decent one.
Would you consider yourself as a race car driver a goal setter?
A goal setter?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so. We set the year out last year, as you can see from the number on the car. In 21, we finished third in Division 3, and we really wanted to win the division this year. We've just really wanted to do that. So every year we do set some goals. We're setting goals at least for how much we're going to travel in 2023, and we are going to hit some more national events out here in the East, and hopefully it goes well.
Well, you should pack that car up and make the trip out here to the East Coast and come to New England Dragway for the divisional or the national event.
That would be a good time. That would really be a good time. Never been there, so that would be neat.
It's 10 miles from the ocean.
Is that right?
Yep.
All right. So you got good air.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The biggest problem we have in the summertime for you guys is when they have that race, it's on or around July 4th, and that's when there's major league humidity around here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not unheard of as 100 degrees and 100% humidity.
Oh man, that's pretty rough.
Yep.
Yeah.
But well, I'm very happy we were able to get together tonight and talk for a little bit. Congratulations, obviously, on your championship.
Thanks, Chris.
You're very welcome, and have fun at PRI, and have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Appreciate that very much. Thanks for the time tonight.
You're welcome. Again, Bob Locke, your 2022 Super Gas National Champ, joining us tonight. And Bob, have a great evening. And again, thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right. Have a great night.
All right. Good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. So that is our interview for tonight. I'm going to have it posted up in just a little while. Be back next Tuesday night, the 6th. Because I go back to work tomorrow. So Mondays are kind of off limits again for a few weeks. And then we're going to take a little time off for the holidays, get ready for that. And looking forward to 2023. So again, want to thank Bob Locke for coming on and talking to us. And hope everybody has a great evening and drive safe and take care, everyone.